If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
2018, you guys lost, and being the first #1 seed, to lose to a 16, and to watch how you handled that with such grace was remarkable, to be honest, from afar, to watch you do that. And there's a quote, which is, if you can learn to use adversity right, it will buy you a ticket to a place you could not have gone any other way. And I love that quote. But that's hard to live out. It's really hard to live out. And then that you go on and win the national championship the next year, but you're even down, I think, at halftime to Gardner-Webb the very next year. So could you just talk about how do you live that out? How did you live it out?
When you're building a program, you have to recruit young men and hire staff that you can lose with first, that you can go through adversity with. There was no, look, we went 17-1 that year in the ACC champion, and won the regular season ACC championship, won the conference tournament, cutting the nets. 5 days later, we're getting beat. We lost our most talented player, DeAndre Hunter, so he didn't play. But it was such success, such failure. So but that quote, just because you go through adversity, everybody thinks, well, we'll be better because of it. No, you have to choose how you respond. And if you don't respond well, you're not going to be any better for going through something like that. So, I'm looking at it in my office. My wife actually framed this picture where it's the UMBC ticket, and then the guy who did the storyteller that has a quote, he wrote it out and signed it. And then there's the national championship ticket, and it's kind of like, if you learn to use it right, that ticket will buy you a place you couldn't have gone any other way. It's interesting. We've talked about this. We have won the national championship the next year had we not lost. Maybe you would have, maybe you wouldn't, but I don't want it to be lost. Like, the real value in that loss against UMBC, of course, winning a championship, going through that. But I think it was what it did to our young men. It didn't destroy us. Yes, it was humbling. Yes, we had death threats after the game. Probably the gamblers who lost money. We had, people were killing us. But it made us realize, you know what? My family, my faith, it will always be there. You can't take that away. I still love the game. And kind of the byproduct, absolutely, was winning the national championship. But to realize, it's okay. We're going to fail. We're going to face things a lot harder than that. We're going to lose family members. We're going to lose things. And I think what that did, from a humility standpoint, from a perspective, it made me realize that I'm not defined by what I do as a coach. When you go through something kind of publicly that's hard, you realize what truly matters and the relationships that are there. And that happened with our team. And it was powerful. And it almost, in a weird way, freed me up to coach that year. Now, I didn't like it the next year when we were down 14 against Gardner-Webb as the 1 seed. I'm like, Lord, what are you doing? I'm like, if this is the path, this is the path. And obviously there was a great story told in the excitement of winning and all that. But I'm sorry I'm talking so much, but it just was powerful that I got put in that spot. And that's kind of what that quote means. My father, the year he took Wisconsin to the Final Four, it was they beat Purdue, and I walked with them to the press room, and I was so proud. I was actually a manager on that team. I just got done playing the NBA, and I was like, you know what? I know my dad's getting close to retiring, and I just want to help his program out. So I was a volunteer manager. That was my start into coaching in 2000. And that was such a highlight to see him reach. That was always his dream as a coach, to get to a Final Four. So they beat Purdue, and we're in the press room. It was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and whatever, this packed press room. And they asked my dad this question. They said, Coach Bennett, is this the greatest moment of your life? He said, from a feeling state, euphoria, yes, it is. But it does not compare with faith, with family, with grandkids. And then he went on to say, because I know what truly matters, it enables me to enjoy what seems to matter, like this. We're defined so much by how successful we are, and that's the biggest lie. What you do as a coach, how much money you make, your status, I just see it screaming at our young people, us as coaches, and it's such the wrong way. And there's a different way that's so much better. What good is it if a man gains the whole world and yet loses himself? That's a great scripture. And you think about that, and having a taste. I played 3 years in the NBA, and that was my dream. I worked my whole life as a player to get there. No one thought I could. And I got drafted, played about 13, 15 minutes a game as a backup point guard. And it was great, but it wasn't all I thought it would be. The national championship and the ACC tournament was phenomenal, and it was great. But it's like, I had a friend of mine say, it's all like cotton candy. Tastes good. Ooh, that's sweet. and then it evaporates, and then you want more, and then you want more. And I think you better be grounded in what really matters as you get into high level sports. But yeah, I was fortunate because I watched my father. I played for him at Wisconsin Green Bay, and it was a Division II program, and it went Division I, and they were terrible. And they hired my dad. Same thing at Wisconsin. They hadn't been to an NCAA tournament one time in like 50 years. Then when he came out of retirement, went to Washington State, he always had to go and rebuild. And my father was always influenced kind of by Vince Lombardi and Bobby Knight, kind of simplicity with execution. The older I get, the more I realize, doesn't mean you're not complex, so to speak, but you have to do some things or a few things at a high level very well than trying to do, that jack of all trades, master of none. You better put in there what you got to get good at and be as good as you can. And so he would go to those programs, and he chose a way to play that gave him a chance to beat the best. Wasn't the fastest pace. It was hard-nosed defense, take care of the ball, take good shots, quality basketball. And, there's a lot of people say, this isn't fun to watch. And I watched him, and he was a stubborn man in a way. It bothered him when people would attack his style of play, but he stayed true to it, and he kept building it, and he got the kids. He developed them. They became mature, and then he would win. And I'm like, how would he get that out of those teams? They weren't that good. So then he did it, wherever he was, he did that. So when I became a head coach, the second it got a little rocky, I would have probably we need to get rid of guys. We need to go get, whether, some transfers or a junior college player here, and we need to change our system. And we need to, and I just saw this steadiness in him. You have to find a way that works. And so that was huge for me. You're always adjusting. Look, I haven't played in the NBA doing things here. I'm always adjusting and finding things, but you have to have some non-negotiables, things you stand on for I'm talking non-negotiable. We talk about those pillars and the character and all these, but non-negotiables in your system. This is, and your players better know what their identity is. Humility, right? They better know what we hang our hat on as a team, defensively, offensively, and there better be a level of accountability to those things. So how you choose to play has to give you a chance to beat the best in your league. The NBA, I love watching the playoffs, and there's so much talent, and those coaches are good. Don't get me wrong, but when you watch, when you don't always have the talent, you got to figure out ways to manufacture stops or shots. Sometimes I love watching European ball, the WNBA. Like, you have to figure out what can your system get for you, and then there has to be freedom too in it that they can attack. But those are the things I like, and you're always adjusting, but you better have those non-negotiables that can be linked to your core values, and then they got to play out in what they are, and then. Again, you better work at them. Can't just say, oh yeah, well, we want to do it. No, you gotta pay the price. So those are some of the things that I know we're talking kind of real general, but it applies to whatever it is you want to go into. Richie, Coach McKay, an awesome man of faith and was my associate head coach. He'd always lean over to me in my ear after a big win or a hard loss. He did it because there was a lot of hard losses early and then some big wins when he was with me at Virginia. And he'd say, remember, Tone, he's like, it's what you do. This is what you do, not who you are. And I think it's right and proper to go after excellence and want to be great. If you're a high school coach, an assistant, to pour into kids to influence. You're passionate. You're not lukewarm. You're passionate about that. But don't ever make the mistake of saying, my identity is 100% tied in this. It's kind of what we started the thing with. So that would be my advice.